Dear students, viewers and the subscribers, welcome to the IAS Mentor. In this video, I want to briefly discuss about the new initiative that we are starting in the IAS Mentor channel is the mains answer writing series. And in fact, in this series, I am planning to cover 100 questions as a part of this particular series. Mostly there will be previous year questions, including all the subjects, GS paper 1, paper 2, paper 3 and paper 4, where the number of questions may be biased in GS paper 2 and paper 4, but it will also have questions solved from paper 3 as well as in paper 1. So that's a major objective of this particular series. But before getting into the minute details of this particular series, let me give a brief introduction about myself. I am Babugunasekaran, and in fact I have written 5 mains, not just 5 mains, I also secured 3 times rank in UPSC examination. I have secured rank 337, secured rank 629, and in fact 737. So in fact, whenever I secured a rank, I was expecting a better rank in fact. And the ranks, although I was good enough to clear the examination, I was not able to secure the rank that I was expecting. And now when I retrospectively think, after not only clearing the examination, now teaching the UPSC aspirants for more than 10 years and also mentoring the students in the meantime, retrospectively if I think, now I understand that what are the minute nuances that I didn't take care of when I wrote the mains examination. And that is exactly the reason why I wanted to do this particular series, where I wanted to share my experience so that the students who are appearing for the examination can definitely benefit out of this particular series. So this series will start coming out very soon. So in the meantime, if you want to get the updates about this particular series, you can subscribe to the IAS Mentor channel. And you can also refer it to your friends or family members who may be preparing for the UPSC IAS examination. Anyone who wanted to prepare or anyone in the process of preparation, this series is going to be extremely useful. All right. So with that brief introduction, let me just directly get into what we are going to see with regard to the answer writing series. In fact, in this, I'm not going to discuss much about the question, but I wanted to give a theoretical idea as to what you have to keep in your mind when you approach the mains answer writing. And in fact, in my opinion, among the 3 stages in the examination, the mains are going to be the most important area. Of course, I'm not undermining the other areas. Say, for example, I'm not undermining the other stages. In fact, without prelims examination, without clearing the prelims examination, you don't get an opportunity. So therefore, that is not undermined, but however, your name to appear in the list, and for you to be very successful, this stage plays a very, very crucial role. And in fact, this stage, if you plan it properly, it is also easier. In fact, your rank depends upon whatever score that you take in the mains examination plus whatever you do well in the interview. So therefore, sometimes the interview may be subjective, but if you can prepare well for your mains, and there are many students who got into IAS or in the top 100 just because they have done extremely well in their mains examination. So this is why I feel that for you to know the minute nuances as to how to deal with the mains examination or how to write the answers is a very, very important and very, very crucial for your success. All right, so with that, the first thing that I wanted to say as to when you ask me what is a good answer, one of the mistake that is done by most of the students when they write the answers in the mains examination is a good answer. You'll have to keep in your mind, a good answer is not you writing whatever you know. So many times it happened. It has happened personally to me also. I have given 5 mains, but I was not able to clear 2 mains. In fact, I was not able to qualify for the interview in couple of times. But 3 times I qualified for the mains. I got the rank also. But couple of times I was not able to qualify because sometimes I wrote in the answers whatever I know rather than writing whatever is being asked. So this is a very important thing that you have to keep in your mind. A good answer is not something that you write whatever you know. Rather, it has to meet the demands of the question. So when you ask me what is a good answer, very quickly, a good answer, you can see it here. First of all, you should know that whatever you are writing is relevant. So whatever is asked in the question has to be answered. For example, if there's a question on what are the implications of globalization on Indian economy, you keep on writing about globalization, you may not fetch the marks because the question is not about globalization, but the question is about the implications of globalization on Indian economy, or probably implications of globalization on the Indian culture. So therefore, you'll have to write relevant to what is asked in the question. So this is something that you have to keep in your mind. Not only the question is relevant, sorry, your answer is relevant, but even more important is that whatever you present should be clear and logical. So what does it mean when I say it should be clear and logical? Your answers has to be in a very simple language. It has to be very lucid. You should not unnecessarily complex it. So sometimes students feel that those who have got a very high standard of language, they'll be able to score well. It may give them an edge, but it is just because they have a very high standard of language, they'll be able to fetch marks. But even though you may have a high standard of language, or you may not have the high standards, but you should present in a very simple language in a way that the examiner can comprehend. So it has to be very simple. And not only it should be simple, that it should clearly reflect your thoughts. That means the examiner should not feel that the particular candidate is confused in what he or she is writing. So it has to be a very, you will have to show your clarity of thought. It has to be in simple languages. If at all, you will have to explain certain relationships. Say for example, certain questions look for cause-effect relationship. So therefore, you should be in a position to explain all those things very clearly. So this is basically what is called as clear and logical exposition. As we'll proceed, I'll also give an example. With examples, it will be much more clear. And the next thing that you have to keep in your mind is your answer has to be structured. So what I mean by structured answer, it's like a skeleton in the body. See, the skeleton of every human being is very, very important. That does give the structure. While structure is like the skeleton, and clear and logical exposition is like the soul of the human body. So similarly, what is the soul to the answer? Your clear and logical exposition is what is the soul. The way you write clearly is the soul of your answer, and your structure is the skeleton of your answer. So therefore, both has to be there in an answer so that you can get the best marks. And of course, your answer should also be a very balanced answer. What I mean by balanced answer, say for example, if there is a scope for analyzing the pros and cons, you should explain about the pros and cons. If there is a scope for multi-dimensional approach in a particular answer, then you'll have to write multi-dimensional. You'll have to cover from different dimensions. Enough examples has to be given. Your points has to be substantiated with facts. So these are all make your answer much more balanced. And if you keep doing all those things, I'm sure that it will also meet the expectation, satisfy the examiner's expectation. So then only you will be able to get the best marks. So, but among all those things, today I wanted to give a brief idea about how do you structure your answer, because that's the first thing where you'll have to start writing the answers. So first is how to structure the answer. I'll briefly discuss this. Anyways, this session is not to explain you as to how to write the very good answers completely. It just to give a very fair idea, and then we'll solve 100 questions as a part of this particular series. And in every series, or in every lecture, or in every episode, I'll try to tell you how to apply these things when you solve the questions. All right. So now if you see the structure of the answer, basically this is a general template that has been followed. Introduction part, the body part, and then you have what is called as a conclusion part. But try to keep in your mind, you don't have to write introduction when you write the answers. So there has to be a specific area, first a few lines, 3-4 lines, or maybe 2 to 3 lines, where the examiner understands that you are writing the introduction to that particular question without even giving a side heading as to introduction. Then comes what is called as a body part. So in the body part is where you'll have to write everything what is the demand in the question. So whatever is the keywords in the question, whatever is the demand of the question has to be addressed where in the body part. And then probably the last part of your answer is what is called as a conclusion part. So conclusion is where you try to summarize a major theme in that particular question. Okay. Anyways, I'll just try to break it up very quickly. So what can be your introduction? So introduction can be a specific definition of a keyword in the question. I'll also give an example to make you understand this further. So how you can give the introduction, what can be a possible introduction is sometimes you can define whatever is asked in the question. Say for example, what is the impact of globalization on Indian economy? You can define what is globalization probably. So that can act as a introduction, or you can give a context to what is called as you can give a context to that particular question in your introduction also. So for example, you can also discuss the context of globalization, how globalization started, when globalization started in India. So in 2-3 lines before you explain about the impact of globalization on Indian economy. So this is how you can give the introduction, and then moving to what is called as the body part. In the body part, you'll have to explain everything, whatever is the demand in the question. Every area that is sought for, every analysis that is required, or whatever is the demand in the question. So all those things has to be addressed in what is called as this body part. And whatever you present in the body part, you can do it in the form of paragraphs, you can do it in the form of points, or it can be hybrid model also. You can do it in the combination of both paragraphs as well as points. You can start as a paragraph, in between you can use points, or you can do it in the point format. You can give subheadings and all those things. So whatever is the demand of the question, you'll have to have that in the body part. But what you'll have to keep it in your mind is whatever you write in the body part, there should be a clear and logical exposition. That means your clarity of thought has to be there. And then it has to be written in a very coherent manner. It has to be logically connected. If you move from one paragraph to another paragraph, it has to be logically connected. If you have to explain any cause-effect relationship, it has to be logically related. So all these things has to be taken care when you write your body part. And then finally you come to what is called as the conclusion, where you can summarize the main theme of that particular question. Or your conclusion can also be a way forward, or your conclusion could also be a suggestion or a reform that you wanted to suggest to address a particular issue that is given in the question. Or your conclusion can also be based on a relevant quotes, although it is a bit difficult, but if you have a relevant quote, that is what is the demand of the question, you can use those quotes while you conclude your answer. So these are all the possible ways by which you can conclude your answer. So this is just a theoretical thing. I'll just try to quickly give an example also. Therefore, you will understand as to what I am saying with regard to structuring a particular question. So look into this particular question. This is a question that I have taken up myself. So look into the question. PIL is not a pill for every ill in the society. Discuss. So here, if you look into this particular question, discuss is nothing but the directive in this particular question. So this word directive also becomes very important, although I wouldn't say that it completely changes what you write in the examination, but it could change the way that you write the answers or how you logically present your arguments depending upon what is asked here. So if you want me to do a video separately on this as to how to approach a question depending upon the directives, I'll do a live session. But if you want that, you can put your comments, you can put it in the comment box so that I can take up that particular request and I'll do a separate video on this. But right now let us try to go for this particular question. PIL is not a pill for every ill in the society. Here PIL means public interest litigation. So basically the question is saying public interest litigation is not a pill for every ill in the society. Discuss. So discuss directive here means it is asking that a well-round explanation on the statement that is given, or an all-round, a holistic explanation of what is given in the question. So therefore, discuss gives you a scope to analyze the pros and cons, discuss the cause-effect relationship, discuss the consequences if any, provided if it is sought for in the particular statement. So it asks you to go for an all-round explanation of what is given here. So therefore, if you see this particular statement, public interest litigation is not a pill for every ill. So basically this question is trying to assess the understanding of the student that can the public interest litigation today in our country, can it be used as a tool to resolve all the issues in the society? That's basically the question. And students have got a bit of knowledge, because I cannot go and explain you what is public interest litigation, assuming that if you have got a bit of knowledge in what is public interest litigation. Today public interest litigation is helpful in solving number of issues, there is no doubt, but can it be a solution for all the issues in the society? That is what you have to analyze in this particular question. So therefore, the best way of approaching this particular question is you can analyze the positives of public interest litigation, and then you can also go and discuss about the negatives, and then finally you can have a concluding remarks based on that particular analysis. So therefore, you can approach this particular question. So what can be part of an introduction? To start the introduction here, you can define probably what is PIL. That is one way of starting this particular question. Or what you can do is you can give the context to PIL. So if you see the PIL in our country, it started since 1970s. So you can set a context to this particular question in a way. Since 1970, the PIL has been playing a very influential role in addressing various societal and the rights issues related to the rights of the people. But at the same time, the PIL, though it has advantages, it is not without any criticism. So therefore, you are setting the tone in your introduction. You are giving context for not only the PIL, and also you are setting the tone as to how you are going to continue that. That it has both the sides, which you can discuss in your body part. So either you define as to what is PIL and then you can go for the body part, or you can set a context for the PIL and then you can go for what is asked in the body part. But your introduction does not directly deal everything what is asked in the question. So what is asked in the question has to be dealt elaborately only in your body part, all right. So now come here. So here you can use it in the form of paragraphs, or you can go for points as you wish. But however, do highlight the important points, do use side headings. So in this particular case, if you see, the body part demands you to make an analysis. Can the PIL be a pill for every ill in the society? Basically, pill means a tablet. Can it be used as a medicine for addressing the various issues in the society? So basically, yes, today public interest litigation has helped us to address certain issues. So therefore, the first part of your body, after defining as to what is a PIL, probably in your introduction, can discuss as to how PIL is used to address various issues in the society. You can give one side heading, or you can give the side heading of advantages of PIL, whatever you thought as appropriate. You can just make a side heading and then you can start explaining as to how a PIL has acted as a pill for some of the issues in the society. Say for example, how PIL has used to address the violation of fundamental rights, how PIL has used to address the lacunas in laws in our country, lacunas in policies in our country. You can do one or two, write one or two case laws and examples also. Say for example, Vishaka guidelines, Good Samaritan guidelines, violation of fundamental rights, Husainara Khatun case. So you do write examples also. But now that's only part of your answer. Your answer will not be complete unless and until you discuss the other area also, because the question is saying, can PIL be a pill for every ill in the society? Of course, there are advantages of PIL, public interest litigation, but a pill cannot be an ill for a PIL cannot be a pill for every ill in the society. Why it cannot be a pill for every ill in the society? Because not PIL is always filed for the benefit of the people. Sometimes they are also misused. Because one of the criticism of the PIL is it is used as a personal interest litigation or political interest litigation. So probably what if it turns out to be a political interest litigation or personal interest litigation or publicity interest litigation? It is not only that, in the form of PIL, sometimes the judiciary engages in what is called as judicial overreach and judicial adventurism, which again violates the principle in the constitution, that is separation of powers. Therefore, you have to bring in the broader principle in the constitution stating, if you see the philosophy behind the Indian constitution, one of the philosophy behind Indian constitution is the separation of powers, where every organ is supposed to perform their respective duty. And it is not the judiciary to take care of everything. The judiciary is only to take care of its own job. It is not to interfere with the functioning of the executive and the legislature. And therefore, the judiciary, if it is taking up everything, then it goes against the very essence of the constitution, that is separation of powers. So that has to be part of your second part when you discuss, can the pill be can the public interest litigation can be a pill for every ill in the society. So you're also talking about how it can address the issues, but how if it is the PIL is used as a tool to address every issues in the society, how it is also going against what? How it is also going against the principles and the provisions in the constitution. Therefore, after discussing that, you can give a rational conclusion to this particular answer. So the central theme can be summarized. What is the central theme? The central theme is you will have to conclude whether a PIL can be a pill for every ill in the society. So if I have to conclude this particular answer, I would say, while the public interest litigation has definitely a lot of advantages, but the judiciary, by using the tool of public interest litigation, cannot substitute the role of the other organs, cannot substitute the role of the executive and the legislature. And in fact, they can supplement their role, but they cannot substitute their role. And in fact, as per the constitution, they all have to work in coordination to address the various issues in the society. So therefore, you are summarizing the central theme, and also you are also giving your opinion as to how it has to function. Therefore, you come to a conclusion. So this is how probably you will have to write your answer. Now, I have not only discussed about the theme structure, I have not only discussed about the skeletal part, but I also discussed about clear and logical exposition, how it has to flow from one area to another area. So first, in the introduction part, we have defined as to what is PIL, where a proper definition has to be given, which also tells the examiner as to you have clarity of thought, better understanding of what is public interest litigation. Then in the body part, we have discussed how the PIL is used to address various issues in the society. but at the same time it has got its own drawbacks. So we are also explaining the central theme with examples and all those things. So here your clarity of thought is again reflected, and then finally you are summarizing the central issue with your own opinion. Therefore it also tells the examiner that you have broader understanding of our constitutional system and what is the role that the judiciary is supposed to play under our constitutional system. So therefore this is what is the soul of your answer, but that has to be reflected in every part of your answer, that is in the structure of your answer. So once you start writing answer like this, I'm quite sure that your answers will improve. So that's the reason that I'm doing this particular series where I'll discuss 100 questions. In this particular series, again I'm repeating it, it will include questions from GS paper 2, GS paper 4 and also GS paper 3 and GS paper 1 as well, which will be extremely useful to the students. So therefore, before I summarize, so what are the key standards based on which UPSC evaluates these answers? Now these are the key standards based on which UPSC is evaluating the answers of the students. So one is whether whatever content that you write is relevant to what is asked in the question. So therefore you may not be happy, you should not be happy rather writing whatever you know unless until it is relevant to what is being asked. So relevance is very important. Clarity of thought, where you are able to explain whatever you know. It is not necessary that you write in a very complex language, but rather you should write in a very simple language, but it should reflect your clarity of thought. That's very important. Structure, which is nothing but the skeleton of your answer. Clarity of thought is nothing but clear and logical exposition is nothing but the soul of your answer. And then you also substantiation and value addition. That's also become a very important. Say for example, you discuss about number of ideas in the answer. But however, to what extent you are convincing the examiner is by giving examples, by giving datas, by giving facts. So wherever you know the facts, try to give the facts. I'm not saying that every point that you write has to be substantiated by a fact, but one or two facts here and there, one or two examples here and there, one or two case laws. It depends upon the paper. So for example, polity paper, you can give case laws to substantiate your ideas, datas. You can give examples. So similarly, in the economics paper, you can come out with data. For a geography paper, you can come out with examples. So similarly, wherever you can substantiate, you need to substantiate your answer. And apart from that, you can use other value additions. Say for example, if you can put a diagram there, a schematic representation, a flow chart. So whatever is possible, you can use those things as value addition. And then finally, if you can also have your originality and innovativeness. What do I mean by innovativeness or originality? So for example, if you are able to have multidisciplinary approach, if you are able to connect across different subjects when you write the answers, although, however, it has to be relevant to the question. If you are able to come out with your own thoughts in the form of suggestions or reforms, so all those things will be appreciated. So these things can definitely help you in fetching the better marks. But however, having said all those things, this series will be useful to the students not just merely by presenting the theoretical framework, which I have done it today, only how we practically apply all these things in solving the question. That is why I said that we are doing 100 questions as a part of this particular series, which will go on for a few more months, and this series is going to be extremely useful. For the students to get more updates on this particular series, you can subscribe to the IAS Mentor channel, and you can also reach out to me through my Instagram or my Telegram account, which is babu_IAS337. If you have any queries, I'm sure that it is going to be a very wonderful series, very fruitful series. But do practice. Only by practice and only by knowing how to apply, it will be useful. Okay, before I conclude this, so how it can also benefit the students and what are the other things? Of course, while watching this and by applying this, you may benefit, but what can you do on your part is you should also practice a lot of questions. So one is you can keep practicing, and you can get in touch with any of your mentors who can help you in guiding you as to how to write the good answers. And also you can look into the topper's copy. So do not envy the answers of others, but try to learn the good things from others. So therefore it can also help you in doing extremely well. So just a summary of whatever I said. So this series we are going to discuss 100 previous year questions, including all the paper GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. And this series will start coming out very soon. So if you have not subscribed, you can soon subscribe to the IAS Mentor channel, and you can also refer this particular channel to your friends and family members, and it is going to be extremely useful in the coming years for the lakhs of students preparing for the IAS examination. Thank you very much. and all the very best.